an attachment for a phone. This is what firemen would use to actually help save people. Okay. So it's a quick attachment they can throw on their phone, and it actually works out great, for us out here. So every single night. So every 6 months, everything gets recycled. All right, so back to me.
Yep.
All right, red, orange, and yellow. So
that's
we're looking
pretty fine grain.
Yep. Yeah, especially for being a 2D camera. It's pretty intense. So we're looking for blue and black. Those are our colder areas. We're looking for the blue or black to either take shape on its own or to obviously, grow to 15 to 20 degrees below the ambient temperature, which tonight we're about 67. So I'll be looking for 52 degrees and lower. And the cool thing is I have a blue dot that's bouncing around the screen. You can probably see it on that black marker over there, which is probably some glass, because glass is always colder. So that blue dot is showing you where the coldest spot is in the frame at that particular moment. So again, I'm looking for that 52 degrees or lower. I also left the center crosshairs on there so that way we can measure anything we want to. We just have to simply move the camera to make sure that the camera's pointed at what we want to measure. So you're going to get the full video back. Is this an every night catch? No, but when we do capture something with this, it is a holy cow moment. I'm just going to put it out there for you. When I say take shape, it's usually in the form of a person, arms, legs, head, body, torso. You kind of get the gist of that.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Not always. That's the funny thing. So because the glass behind me is obviously the coldest thing in the frame at this particular moment, something might just show up blue, and it is a full person with no heat to their skin or flesh whatsoever. So we've caught that in the past. So with this particular camera. So this guy is super cool. I absolutely love it. You're running.
Right.
We're going to talk about Eliza. Eliza married Charles at a young age, according to today's standards. I say today's standards because if you're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, don't expect numbers like 12 and 14, like the colonial times that she came from. Think of today's standards. I bring that up is because her husband, Charles, was over double her age when they married. So it's kind of a creepy age gap back then, kind of a creepy age gap now. So I love the fact that you're so fascinated with just moving from side to side. And you're gonna see why the Blair Witch Project looked the way that it does. When I hand that camera to kids, it's the worst video. I need to stop doing that because I use 3 different style cameras, and the cameras always keep the kids interested, especially the little guys. But anyway,
he's laughing.
Yeah, of course. So we actually might get some really decent stuff out of this tonight, and I'll tell you why. Is because every year I change up. I usually take out a location and add another one. This was one of the spaces I was looking to retire because I was getting some very disrespectful people on my tours, kind of joking around and that kind of thing. And this is a prominent English woman. This is not somebody you want to really
joke
take
around
on. Yeah,
offend.
Right, exactly. So coming here for 3.5 years, I was like, maybe it's time to retire. But again, I keep getting more and more information out of this location. Back to Eliza. She married Charles because her father was over in England, where she's from, and he thought he was dying. So he's trying to bring all of his children home one last time. Eliza didn't believe he was dying, so she stayed put, got married in 1744. You don't get married in that specific year for a green card. We're not a country yet. So she did marry him out of love. There's no foul play. But her dad didn't die right away. She was right. So he starts sending her gifts from England to here, right where we're standing. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. You guys have been in town for at least a few hours that I know of. You've probably seen the word indigo somewhere. I'm sure of it. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Wasn't sure if you knew what that was. So I get a very diverse group. I have to make sure I know. People are like, what the heck is indigo? It's a color. But anyway, when she got the seeds, she didn't know what to do with them. So she had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's obviously not warm here all the time. So when she figured it out, learned how to make the dye, she moved to a cash crop plantation just south of here. Called him, not called him, but got a hold of her dad and said, you know what, the rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. And now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. Something absolutely unheard of. So, that's the boring business stuff of Eliza. Let's get into the weird stuff, because that's why you guys are here. You guys want some weird anomalies that come up? Let's go through a few handful of questions that you commonly get the answers to. We're going to go straight into Eliza's death. She's usually pretty open about it. But I want to point out first thing is that the mansion's not here. So hopefully we'll find out what happened to it and then when did that happen. Notice that none of those are yes/no questions. It's very specific details. But Eliza's death, we can ask her how old she was, what she died from, where she's buried, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. These are things that I learned from the investigations. It wasn't me researching her and wrote down a bunch of questions. It was, these were answers we were getting, and I had to realize if we heard the president's name on a spirit box, and I'm like, and then we heard it again 2 nights later, and I'm like, wait a minute, we just heard this 2 nights ago. So I researched it, put that president's name next to Eliza Lucas Pinckney in Google, voila, have my relation. So these are the types of things that occur. So again, this isn't stuff like the the city of Charleston says I have to teach you guys.
Right.
It's a matter of what did I find through my investigations. The other things that we can ask about, Eliza was the second wife named Eliza from Charles back to back. So really smart, really stupid, depending on how you look at it. However, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. A lot of times we can ask which Eliza we're dealing with. And she'll tell us based on the maiden name that starts with the letter L. So, and I've seen that a lot come through on this guy. So, it stopped running. I think I threw it in my pocket. Wow, we got a lot of things going on already. Very interesting. But anyway, so again, I would say let's go ahead and start with her death. Wait, because I just jostled it a little bit. Basically, we're going to do 2, maybe 3 laps, kind of see how we go with this. And what were the phrases you said you heard so far? Florida and what else?
Somebody laughing, and somebody just said the word George.
There you go. Just had to restart the app. You did hear "Oh Baby" and the name George.
Yeah. And what did we both hear a minute ago? We both said
It's an experience.
It's an experience.
Eliza, why don't you tell us what happened to your beautiful mansion that's not here anymore?
She's in a relationship. High blood pressure.
Talk about it.
Talk about it. You got your privacy?
Well, you guys are really good at this. Normally it takes people like at least one space to like get the gist of how to listen to that. The weird thing is that what color is a big red barn? High blood pressure. So we have the word blood in there. Remember that thing is slowed down. What color is a big red barn? Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. I don't need red in there. Again, the blood piece is a little far of a stretch because that was 10 minutes ago. But at the same token, we're still near the big red barn and Big John's. We could get bleed over, and that does occur. So I will see specific things show up from Big John over here, and we could have already had Pinckney things over there.
Okay.
So that's where things get interesting. Funny thing is we didn't even talk about the children yet. I was trying to stay away from it, but it seems like she wants to give us a little bit more information because I already have a term relative to the children, and you already have one of the children's names along with the word baby. And we're going to talk, like I always give you the answers before we leave a space, so I'll explain more before we leave. Basically, she had 4 children. The number 4 is already on my word list. So, and then you have George. He was a baby. He did die in infancy, and I'll explain more about him before we leave. But let's see if we can get maybe some of the other names. And I definitely want to go after her death and what happened to the mansion. So, what are you most curious about at this point?
I guess, well, I guess I'd like to hear what happened to Eliza and see how one decodes the different,
Like for the death? So like how she died?
Yeah.
Okay, Eliza, we're going to take 2 laps around your beautiful property here, the parking lot, and we are going to hopefully hear answers from you, and you can tell us about your death. Let's go after your age and maybe what happened to you. Let's start with something nice and simple. All right, let's take a lap. Let's see if you guys can stay together with the headbutt.
Yeah. Take $500. Visit.
I'm not getting any substantial readings out of this at all. Normal spikes for this location would be like 18 to 22. Like that's a very high spike for a space with no electricity running through it. So
4 is not very much then.
that was a 0.4.
Oh.
Like I'm talking a full whole number, 18 to 22. I mean, I'm getting 0 readings.
Eliza.
Come on, Eliza. This is Andre and Karen that I brought with me. Nice small group.
My older brother.
My older brother, I think.
5.4. As soon as that came up. My older brother.
How about your 200, 300, something, something?
That was a 6.6. My older brother. So which brother is giving us all of these terms?
Hello, Eliza.
Which brother
There are
is here?
people who,
Which brother is here? Give us your name.
%. It's a lot
A
of
lot
people.
of people, way too much.
Which brother do we have here? These are obviously not terms coming from Eliza.
Any the father. Woman in a pink
dress.
Woman in a pink something, for sure.
Wow. That's actually really cool. The reason why.
She died in a pink dress?
No, but one of the few pieces of clothing that we have of Eliza's that's been preserved is a pink dress.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That gave me goosebumps.
Come on, Eliza.
I don't even
George.
normally talk about that. Every once in a while we'll get something along those lines, but I don't talk about it on a nightly basis. It's just weird that you heard that.
Maybe we heard it. So surely it's
Something
possible.
Okay.
Sounds different to me.
I'm still curious as to which brother is here. Let's get some
I
names.
heard something that might have been the name Tommy.
Yep, that's him. Thomas. Hello, Thomas. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, I don't,
Why don't you tell us which war you fought in? Which battle? Or what happened to you during that battle? I'll take any of those things.
That's why we told.
free. Oh, that's free
Okay.
something. Open it up. Service today?
Yep.
Thomas, tell us what happened to you during the war you fought in. You guys are really good at this, by the way. Like, I'm impressed.
I'm hearing a lot of fuzz, but
But having already 2 pages within 5 minutes from the people with spirit boxes, when I have my teams of 10, there's 6 spirit boxes that do something different. They're all a little bit different than the next one. I don't have 2 pages from 6 people.
okay.
And you guys have given me that much already.
All right.
Which is weird because I'm not getting the normal spikes that I normally see. And again, with the camera...
You are the most successful.
Wasn't I just saying that? But with the camera, I don't always follow up with that thing in real time because the screen is small.
Right.
I splice all the little videos together, put them up on YouTube, so you guys can watch them however you want. You can watch them on your TV, your computers, your tablets, your phones. But I watch it on a nice big computer screen so I can see everything. So that way I can... That's why it's not always a real-time moment for me with the camera. Now, let's slowly walk
Usually-
back. I want to see if you guys get anything...
Assets from being?
Can you turn the volume up on this?
Yeah.
Just really hoping to get some numbers along with
You
all
want
this.
it, gotta make sure you honestly, so fast, some of it.
Sometimes.
Do you ever hear anything about slaves that lived here? Or slaves that died here?
Can't prove any of it. So we will get things like names and then like maybe a job title of somebody that could have been a slave, like, you know, John Cook, you know what I mean? But I can't prove that John was the cook. I just, there's no
The
records of
records
them.
are
So
not
you got
usually.
George and Thomas and the two Elizas, the two wives.
Right.
And his name was the husband?
Charles. As was one of the sons.
And the uncle, if I remember right.
The nephew.
The nephew.
There's a lot of Charles Pinckneys. It's hard to keep up track of which one is which.
You don't have to be part of this organization?
Give it another minute and I'll reveal all the answers to you. Again,
99.
Thomas, we want to know what happened to you at the war. During the battle that you fought.
Yeah, Thomas. You're back or you're the best.
I'm just going to add.
Thomas, if you were shot during that battle, tell us where you were shot. Let's go very specific.
Love.
Oh,
My
father.
father.
Father again. No.
Thomas, what do you got? Anything you want to say?
Last call, Thomas.
Here, you don't have to.
It's telling me to.
Is it here?
It says conclusion.
Uh-huh.
So that's my cue to let's wrap it up.
Okay.
That's kind of how I look at those. Might not be relevant, but it is. Yeah, go ahead and hit your. Where? Oh, you guys Ubered to the starting point,
Over
right?
here. We're staying at the we're staying on Broad Street, just past King Street, like corner of Broad and King.
No, it's gonna be like 2 blocks away when we're done. You won't need to Uber back.
No.
Because we're gonna end at Washington Park.
Yeah. It'll be what, 8 minutes or something.
It won't even be that long. I don't think. Like, it's literally 2 blocks away. We might get some other tours that'll cut through us, but we'll kind of stir things up here, and then we'll move on to our next space.
So how do we stir things up?
Oh, we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
So, again, I tell the same history every night of what actually went on down here. And believe it or not, like, because you're going to be so focused on me, you're going to be missing out on things. But as the next location we go to, we're going to be right next door. So we get that bleed over, like what I talked about from Big John's to the Pinckneys.
Mm-hmm.
So
Turn it up.
he's
I
like,
think it's up.
I'm not missing anything. Love it. So this space used to be called Dueler's Alley. This is where some of the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. You can definitely hit that record button in here if you haven't already.
I have.
So we all tell the same story of the same duel. However, I got a little bit more detail because we're ghost hunting. You know, it's not just a campfire and marshmallow story. So here's how it goes. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. He moves down here. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. If you hear the song Brown Eyed Girl here, it's not coincidence, just so you know. But anyway, he moves down here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée, Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of the cash. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after her money, so he tells Amanda, get rid of the doctor. Dr. Ladd moves to Charleston to prove that he's not after her money. The coachman that brought him into town set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a good start. So somebody was walking by. His name was Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph for a second because you're ghost hunting. Ralph has the exact initials of where the doctor came from. Ralph Isaacs, Rhode Island. We do get the letters RI all the time on that thing, and because of that, I've been coming here for a couple of years. There's a new device that they created, and it's basically a digital Ouija board to see if we can get the same type of initials. However, 2 different characters, we need a secondary clue so we know who it belongs to. Anyway, back to Ralph. He tells the doctor, I know this guy, he's gonna try to kill you. I got some friends at 59 Church Street. You can rent a room from them, and you'll be good to go. Dr. Ladd took him up on the offer. They become friends. The longer the doctor stays here, the more money he's making. He's, proving his point that he wasn't after Amanda's money. She gets wind of this. She's coming down so they can get married. Dr. Ladd became known as the Whistling Doctor. What I'm going to tell you now is that every haunted city has a cliched whistling ghost. There's actual proof of this one, even from my own tours. So again, take that for what it's worth. We're going to talk more about that proof after the history. But Ralph and the doctor go see plays together. They can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. That's just the hierarchy of Charleston. He gets better seats. So they talk about these plays on the way home. They go see Richard III one night from Shakespeare. I don't know which theater it was because we've had dozens and no tour guide will be able to tell you which one it was. But they're arguing over the new actress. Dr. Ladd thought the new actress was great. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing, and then Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiance, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. And it gets really ugly between the 2 of them.
This isn't going to end well.
They go their separate ways. Ralph has friends here, like I said, with the coachman. He also has friends at the newspaper. He puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Kind of you're a disgrace to society, sir. Yeah.
1035. Anyway.
Sorry, always thinking of numbers of what else is around us. Numbers and names usually don't lie. That's where I get excited with things. But at any rate, Dr. Ladd saw the ad in the paper and he rebutted with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this. So they came down, they took their 10 paces, they turned, the doctor pointed his gun in the air and he shot his 1 shot from his flintlock. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight, which is often what happened at a duel in those times. But Ralph has his 1 shot. So he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. Dr. Ladd doesn't die, but he drops. His friends pick him up, carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later, after refusing medical treatment. You gotta remember the times. This is 1786. He wasn't worried about a normal bloodshot wound. Let's go ahead and come in closer a little bit. Let's let this group pass. It was probably a lead bullet coming from a flintlock, so he's more worried about the lead poisoning. So he probably tried to bleed it out himself. So, how you doing? Let this group pass. Every ghoster will tell you, when you're down here, listen for the whistles from the doctor. I will tell you, you hear how quiet it is now? It is always this quiet, even on a Saturday afternoon. I don't know how or why, but it just is. We're using my voice recorder right now, so obviously when you're listening to this part of your audio, listen for any whistles in the background. Every local knows the story, so if you guys are going to come down here later and use voice recorders from your phones, just keep in mind every local knows it. They're going to throw a whistle if they're walking up and down Cumberland or Queen. I do it every single night. So we passed my garage on the way here, so I have to pass the alley. If my daughter's on the tour with us, then we race to see who's going to throw the whistle first. So that's my youngest. She's the silly one. But at any rate, this place, I got kicked out of here a couple of years ago, so it's part of why I'm always like, let's get out of their way. Let me tell you how that happened. First off, it's a little history lesson. The alley didn't always go all the way through this way. Reason why, it was actually cut off by a wall because this was called Cow Alley at the time, before it was Dueler's Alley. This is where they kept the livestock for the city of Charleston. So that was a brand new city, this is where they're going to keep it. So the bricks on that side are older than these bricks on your right, which means the ones on your left are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's one brick down there with a full handprint from a slave child, and there's fingerprint swipes in others. And I used to take my groups all the way through and show it off because we all need to see the diversity of, how far we've come away from slavery. However, everybody wants to try to get a reading from it, whether it be from an EMF detector, a spirit box, so forth and so on. I treat that brick the same way I do a grave. It was merely a history lesson, not a paranormal piece of the evidence. November 26th of 2020, my entire group is huddled around that one brick waiting for something to happen. And I'm trying to scurry them along because of, first I know nothing's going to happen. Second, it's outside the kitchen window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. Yeah, I was just trying to be respectful, not knowing I was actually out of bounds for being a tour guide in Charleston. I was still new at this. So the new neighbor came out screaming, right outside his house.
I heard the word doctor.
Oh, there we go. I'll be writing that one down. We'll see if we get the word Brown or Joseph. But anyway, my daughter thought it was great because the neighbor's yelling at Dad, and we moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I don't work Thanksgiving anymore, especially coming out of retail the way I did. I worked for Walmart a good many years, so you can imagine why I don't work Thanksgiving anymore. Think of Black Fridays. So anyway, the next day was November 28th of 2020. I decided that I'm going to reroute my group, so that way I'm keeping my butt out of trouble. So that way I can also stay out of their way, because you can't really investigate with 20 to 60 other people in here. So what I told my group was, I'm not a big believer in this story because I have no evidence. I'm not a vampire guy, not a pirate person, but we're going to be talking about pirates. Before we left, somebody with a spirit box heard the name Anne. What I didn't tell that group was who we were going to be investigating. The famous female pirate, Anne Bonny. So I went, okay, maybe we got something. I go up there, I told them what little bit I did know about pirates at the time, like quick research, and somebody else heard the number 300. I don't know what that means in real time. That's why I write everything down. The next day I'm doing the research. We were there November 28th of 2020, Anne Bonny's trial for piracy, November 28th of 1720. So I was like, damn, now I gotta learn about pirates. So I've can't tell you how many books I've read trying to piece together a piece of an investigation on pirate lore. That's very difficult to do. That's where the creative writing master's degree comes into play, to try and piece it all together for you. Everything we're going to be discussing at the next location has come from a minimum of 2 resources, so just kind of keep that in mind. And it is a free forum. We won't have to tiptoe around a prominent English woman like what we did with the Pinckney Mansion site, and hopefully we're going to get clues from here. The other reason I stopped at this gate before we leave the space, remember the alley didn't go all the way through this way? If there was a loser to the duel, this was the shortcut to get to the cemetery. Yeah, so again, beautiful space, kind of creepy stuff goes on down here. But we have gotten whistles, we have gotten, and there's also claim of gunshots being heard down here. I don't have any of that coming out of the regular audio. But it is just, it's a beautiful space. So if you love taking pictures while you guys are down here, the lighting down here is perfect all the time. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, we're going to go ahead and give that a break and cut it. And Bonnie story. So what do you want to know? Is there something specific that's...
Well, did she like it better living as a man or as a woman?
That's a good question. Ask her. I don't know.
Annie, did you like everyone thinking you were a guy?
Probably get words like freedom out of that.
And how does Annie relate to this site?
Because this is what I call a familiar. So basically, in a nutshell, when you're working with certain types of ghosts where you don't always have direct access of where they were born or their own home or things like that, you have to work with what's familiar. On your ghost hunting TV shows, some of the methods they use if they have a child ghost is using a teddy bear or a toy or something like that would be relative to a child to be able to interact. It's the same principle here. So this is just something familiar. And again, Anne Bonny is said to be seen all over town. I have enough evidence after coming here for the past 2 years.
Do we know where she was more prominently in the town?
Not necessarily.
And we're talking about what years that she was here, from when to when, if you know.
So she came here from 1708, which the journey from Ireland, I'm going to guess, probably took 6 to 8 months, by boat, depending on navigation. So she would have been here, let's just say 1709 to about 1715, 1716. But rumor is after her father basically rescued her out of our Jamaican jail and bailed her out, some rumors say that she actually stayed here and went under a whole different name and kind of changed her whole life around so nobody would know her as the infamous pirate. Some other stories will tell you that she actually moved to Virginia and started her life up there. Again, there's no true record of what actually occurred.
And she changed her name how many times when married, if at all?
Just from when she married her first husband, James. So she went from Anne Cormack, which was her Irish-born name, her birth name, to Anne Bonny, and then she was still Anne Bonny with Calico Jack and Mary. So whatever...
So Anne Bonny was the dominant name.
Correct.
Well, Anne Bonny, stay tuned.
I know, right? There's a lot that goes on here. So there's enough, like that first night when I had that Anne and 300, I'm like, okay, but we keep getting more things. Every
Yeah.
once in a while, we'll get the songs like "Girls Just Want to Have Fun," like that comes up a lot. I'll never forget one specific night. 2 DJs were talking through a spirit box, and they were laughing, and they said they think we're guys, and that was the exact phrase that the DJ said. So that's something else that sticks
Wow.
out to me. But we also get her hair color if you ask her. You know, her mother.
Annie, tell me something about yourself.
A lot of people like to ask about the children. I can't prove any of that. So it's like,
Right.
just have fun with it. If you get a direct answer, you have a direct answer. I
And
can't
what you
prove
thought about the men you were with.
it. I know, right?
Yeah.
Did they disappoint you?
Tell us about James, your first husband. What did you think of James?
Horrified.
Just waiting
There
for
were-
a coward.
Annie, the men. How many men? How many men were there? Who's the best man for you, Annie, or best woman?
And can you tell us what name Mary went by to become a pirate?
Amen.
Alternative?
To something. Charles?
Wasn't Charles. The interesting thing about Charles is Eliza's husband is buried across the street.
Ah,
We will get weird trickles from the Pinckney family because some of them are buried over there. So the husband and the nephew are both buried across the street.
okay.
Weird things. Singing along. Come on, Anne, give us something. Anything you want to tell us. I hate to say, but the suit is probably scaring her off. I know you're ghosts, man.
Come on, Anne.
With Eliza, it was probably, yes, he's dressed respectably. Over here, she's looking at you as government. And that's not who she wants to be toying with. And what do you want to tell
As
us?
in one bottle? One bottle?
As in, what about?
As in what about? Tell us about your first husband, James. I know you said you were horrified. What else about him? What was it?
Broken into.
Tell us about Jack. I know how you felt about Jack. What do you want to tell us about Calico Jack?
Now, I don't know that we've gotten anything floor-wise here. In terms of the imaging, this is still on record.
Mm-hmm.
What do you recommend for this or other devices you have that do more than what we've had from this, which doesn't seem to have anything?
So with that, that's why I don't always follow up with it in real time. It's always like something we missed while we actually had it out.
103 or 1 of 3?
1 of 3.
The Legend of...
This is very still. Diary. Anything else coming out of there?
No,
Okay.
Not
this is
really,
weak.
no.
Yeah. All right. Come on over this way, and we'll swap out that.